Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Swan. Let's talk about JavaScript loops. In this video, we will find out what are loops, how many we can use, and what are the difference. This is the only video you need to watch to understand JavaScript loops. Let me know in the comment which is your favorite loop in JavaScript. Okay, let's jump into the Visual Studio Code. So let's create a variable const names equal to an array John, Billy, Derek, Dave, Bob, and bread. So before we start, what is arrays? An array is a special variable which can hold more than one value. JavaScript arrays are zero indexed. So this is the index. John is 0, Billy is 1, Derek is 2, Dave 3, Bob 4, and Brad is 5. So the first element of an array is at index 0, which is John. The second is at index 1, which is Billy, and so on. And the last element is at the value of the array's length property minus 1. How many elements we have in the property? 6. So the last element is 6 minus 1 is it 5. So it's located in the index 5. To access the element in the arrays, you can simply use variable names square bracket 0. If you put names 0, then you access to the first element. Let's access to all the element. Console.log names 0. And I want to access all the elements, so let's copy this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's run our console, npm run app, and save this. And now we have accessed the elements in an array. But this is too repetitive and it's a problem. This is where loops is coming handy. Let's talk about what are loops. Loops are handy if you want to run the same code over and over again, each time with a different value. But how many loops we have? We have the for loop, do while loop, for in loop, for off loop, and the higher order functions like forEach and map. All loops can be used to break statement, but not on the higher order functions. In our case, our names array is just only contains 6 elements. But what about if I have 100,000 elements in an array? That will be a big problem to write the console.log in every single line. Let's have a look to do this with a for loop. So for let I equal to 0, I less than the names dot length and I plus plus. And I will explain this. Console.log I and console.log names I. Let's save this. Let's comment this out. We don't need this. Save it again. So now we have in 0 location, John, number 1 index, we have Billy, and so on. The number 5 is Brad. So let me explain this. A for loop repeats until the specified condition evaluates to false. So we have a condition expression here. And you have the for loop, and we have this is the initial expression, condition expression, and the increment expression. And after we have the statement. So let I equal to 0, this is the initial expression. It sets a variable before the loops are start. The condition expression, which is I less than names.length, condition for the loop to run, the condition must be true. In our case, I should be less than the array length. If it's reach I, the array length, then the condition will be false because the array length is 6. And if I reach 6, then 6 is not less than 6. So this is became false and it will be exit the loop. And the third expression will not run. And the increment expression, which is the I++, increase the value by 1 each time the code block in the loop has been executed. We can use the for loop on a string too, the same 0 based. So if I create a text equal to love JavaScript and for let I equal to 0, I less than text.length, I plus plus. And let's look to the console, text.I. Save this, and we have this to the console, love JavaScript. So you can initial many values in expression separated by a comma. Let's give you an example. For let I equal to 0, comma, length equal to names.length, comma, text equal to an empty string, semicolon I less than, we can use the len here, the len property, because we was declaring here, I less than len and I plus plus. And text plus equal to names.I plus an empty space. Console.log the text. So what we did here, in the initial expression, instead to initial 1 values, we done 1, 2, and 3 values. And the code is still valid. Comment this out. Let's have a look at the next example. Const cars equal to BMW, Volvo, Seb, Ford. Let I equal to 2 and let the length equal to cars.length. Let text equal to an empty string. For semicolon I less than len I plus plus text plus equal cars I plus an empty space and console.log text console.log I. Let's save this. We have the sep and the for. Usually the first expression, which is this one, initialize the variable used in the loop, but this is optional. So like you can see, JavaScript doesn't care the first expression. We can leave empty, but you must always check the condition because you can make easily infinity loop and you crash your browser. Like on this example, instead of increment, I put decrement and I run this, I made an infinity loop. There is no stopping condition for me. So I is always getting less and this is always going to be true. So let's change this back to plus and save it again. Okay, now we stopped it. Let's give another example. For let I equal to 0, semicolon empty space, semicolon I plus plus. What do you think? Can we do this? Let's have a look. Console.log I. And let's put a statement here. If I equal to 100, then do a break. So let's save this. What's happening? Wow. So we was logging to the terminal, the numbers 1 to 100. But like you can see, JavaScript also doesn't care about the condition expression. But you must use a break in the loop to not create an infinity loop. So if we don't have this break here, then we're going to create an infinity loop like what we did before. So what is break? The break statement terminates the current loop, switch or label statement, and transfers program control to the statement following the terminated statement. So what we've learned so far, for loop doesn't care about the initial expression and also doesn't care about the conditional expression. We just need to make sure we will breaking the loop, otherwise this will be an infinity loop. Comment this out. Let's create another loop for let I equal to 0, semicolon, I less than 10, I plus plus. And let's put it in this way, if I equal to 5, then I just want to use the statement continue. Console.log I here. Let's see what we got. Save this. And we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we don't have the number 5 there. So what happened? The continue statement breaks one iteration in the loop and continues with the next iteration in the loop. When the if condition is true, which is 5 equal to 5, then the continue statement will run, which is exit from the loop and skip the console.log I. In our case, I is equal to 5. Then go to the next iteration because the condition expression is still true. Now I get increment by 1 and now I is 6 and the if statement never got true again. So finish the loop when I equal to 10. Hopefully this makes sense. The break and the continue statements are the only JavaScript statements that can jump out of a code block. Now we understand what is a loop. Let's go to the next one. The next loop is the while loop. Break down first, while. So in the while loop we have a condition. And we have the code block to be executed. The while loop loops through a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. It is very simple. So let's have a look. Let I equal to 0. Then while I less than 10. Then console.log I. Let's add a string before. Incrementing I by 1. I plus plus. And console.log I plus after. Let's say. I forgot to put the empty space here. So this is then. Let's save it again. Now this is the block of code. 0 is the before, 1 is an after. 1 before, 2 is after. Like you can see here, we started with 0, but we finished with 10. On the while loop, we have a choice if we want to increment after when the code was running or before when our code is running. Make sure the condition in the loop eventually becomes false to avoid infinity loops again. But also we can use a break condition here. So if I do if I equal to 1, then I can use the break statement. What we got here? Just only 0. So let's break this down step by step. I is 0, which is get printed to the console. Then I get incrementing by 1, which became 1. As soon as 1 equal to 1 is break out the loop. Okay, let's comment this out. The next one will be the do while. So how this is built up? We have a do, which is where we have the code block to be executed, and we have a while with a condition. This is the do while structure. Let's comment this to be here as a reference. The do while loop is a variant of the while loop. Here, this code is always get executed once, and after checking the condition, then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. Let numbers equal to an empty array, let I equal to 0, and do something. Numbers dot push I plus plus, and let's do the while. So let's do something till I less than 10, and I want to console.log the numbers. Yes, we created an array with 10 elements and starting with 0 and ending with 9. Let's copy this, paste. Let's delete this, and the numbers I want to push 0, and in a while loop we should change this to numbers dot length less than 21 and save this. So what's happened here, we populated an array with 21 elements, which is 0, but here I don't have to increment the I. How does it work? So every single time this loop is get executed till the while condition is it true, numbers length is 0. I can prove this to console.log numbers.length, and let's have a little bit less, so I want to use maybe 5. In the first loop, we get number 0 less than 5. Yes. The first time it's pushed to the array, a 0, then coming to the condition, this is true because 0 less than 5. But in the meantime, the number's length is got changed because now we have one element, so it's get populated 1 0, and we have one element, and the number's length is 1 now. So because the length is changed, now doing the next one, pushing a next 0, a next one, the length is already 2. 2 is less than 5. Let's repeat this. 3, 4, and 5. So when we reached 5, the length is 5. And when we're checking number length is 5, is less than 5 is false, then exits the loop. Hopefully this is makes sense. Let's delete this and comment this out. I used the do while loop on one of my coding challenge. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to see the video. Only 1 minute long and generating lucky dip number to the lottery. Let's go to the next one. So the next loop is the forOf. The JavaScript forOf statement, it lets you to loop over iterable data structures such as arrays, strings, maps, node lists, and more. So let's use our original array, which is names. Copy this, comment this out, and let's bring it down here. And let's create forOf loop. For let n of names and console.log n. Let's see what we have. We got John, Billy, Derek, Steve. Basically, we can code this anyhow. We can code this n. Okay, I can code this x. Still the same. The names is an array, and we're looping through the array values. And in this case, the array values is the x. Comment this out. Let name equal to John Doe, and let rev name, let's reverse a name, equal to an empty array. For let x of name, rev name, unshift x. Console.log rev name.join, and save this. We have reversed back a string. So the name is the string and the value, each character in the string. So the unshift, it's add an element, which this case the x, to the beginning of the array. I can console.log rev name. Okay, let's comment this out. I know you can do this easier, but this is just an example. The next loop will be the forIn loop. So the JavaScript forIn statement loops through the properties of an object. We got the for, we have a variable in object, and then we have the statement. So let's have a look this in an example. Create an object cars equal to make will be Ford, model will be Mustang, and age will be 2. I want to loop through this object. So for let x in cars, not let, and console.log cars x, and let's see what we got. We got Ford, Mustang, and number 2. Let's break this down. So console.log cars.make. So this is how we're doing one by one. So we have Ford, and I can console.log cars.model. We have the Mustang, and console.log cars.age. So the object is a key value pair, and the x is the key here. And this is how we're looping through an object. An example with an array. Let's copy the names, and I want to use for let x in names and console.log x. Now what do we get from here now? This will be tricky. Are you ready? Let me save it. Oh yes. Now don't worry about this before this get confused. Let me comment this out and save it again. Now this is not quite what you expected. I believe a lot of people, they was thinking this will be get logged John, Billy, Derek, Steve, Bob, bread. But this is not a for of loop. This is a for in loop. In the object, the key was the make, model, and age. But on the other hand, on the array, which is this, the key is the array index itself. So the index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we printing out here, the key, which is the x. So we're just printing out the index. And the key is used to access the value of the key, which makes sense. If I want to log this John, Billy, Derek, Steve, Bob, or the rest one, I need to use named and x. And now we have John, Billy, Derek, Steve, Bob, and Brad. The difference between a for loop and the for in loop, while for in iterates over property names, for of iterates over property values. Hopefully this makes sense. Let me bring this closer so we can see this clearly. We have the names and leave it. This is the for in loop and this is the for of loop. Comment this out. Console.log x and here console.log x as well. And let's put this a string here, for in loop, and this will be the for of loop. So let's say this again. The difference between a for of loop and the for in loop, while for in iterates through over a property names, for of iterates over property values. So let's save this. Yes, because we're using in this case an array. The property names for this array will be the key, which is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here in this case, when we're using the for of loop, we're using the value, which is a John, Billy, Derek, Steve, Bob, and Brad. Hopefully this makes sense and easy to understand. Crack on and go to the next loop, which is my favorite ones. And we have arrived to the higher order functions, for each. I have a full in-depth video about the for each higher order function. If you're interested about it, you find the link in the description down below. Now in for each, we cannot use continue or break. Yep. Create an array, const numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's have 10 numbers dot for each, and for each accept the callback function, which has 3 parameters: the element, index, and the array. And console.log the element. What do we have? Yes, we have the element from the array. It was nice and simple. Let's give you another example. Here in for each you can have access for the array, for the index, and for the element if you want. Array index equal to element multiplied by 10, and console.log the numbers. And we modify the original array. However, the forEach method does not modify the original array. The callback function, if invoked, may do so. So in this case, our callback function modified the original array. The forEach method calls a function for each element in array. We call this a callback function. The callback function parameters, which is the current element being processed in the array. This is the current element every single time when iterating, is going through one by one, because this is a loop. But in the callback function does something with that element. It's your choice what you do in the element. Note, there is no way to stop or break in a for each loop. Let's comment this out. One more loop is the map, which is similar for each but return a new array. So difference between the for each and the map is always returns a new array. Let's use our numbers and let's say numbers.map element index and the array, and console.log the element. So we got the same 1 to 10, but because it returns a new array, we can call this a new numbers equal to numbers.map and element multiply by 10. And console.log new numbers. Yes, it's new numbers. And we got our new array. Let me know in the comment section if you learned something new and which one is your favorite loops. If you liked the video, then don't forget to press the like button. See you at the next one. Happy coding. Bye.